Part 1. The Art of the Scam. Zark Windrider, self-proclaimed master of the long con and three-time winner of the Betelgeusian Bluff-Off, adjusted his ill-fitting uniform and practiced his most officious scowl on the polished hull of his rusty spaceship, the audited accounts asterisk. Greetings, humble alien life forms, he muttered to his reflection. I am Grand Assessor Zark of the Pan-Galactic Revenue Service. Your pitiful plan has been randomly selected for a routine tax audit. Resistance is taxable. Zark grinned, revealing a set of teeth that had seen better millennia. His latest scam was a work of art, if he did say so himself, and he did, frequently, to anyone who'd listen. Posing as an intergalactic tax collector was pure genius. After all, death and taxes were the only constants in the universe, and he'd already tried scamming the Grim Reaper, with less than stellar results. With a final adjustment to his crook tie, Zark lumbered down the gangplank onto the surface of Squidlix for a backwater planet known primarily for its exports of artisanal slime molds and discount tentacle polish. The welcoming committee consisted of 3 Squidlixians, each a quivering mass of tentacles topped with eye stalks that darted about nervously. The central blob, sporting what appeared to be a hastily donned toupee, oozed forward. Welcome, O exalted one, it burbled, leaving a trail of slime that spelled out kiss up in cursive. I am Mayor Glorp. We are most honored by your, unexpected visit. Zark straightened to his full height of 5'3" and peered down his considerable nose at the mayor. Yes, well, the Pan-Galactic Revenue Service waits for no being Mayor Glorp. I trust you have your financial records in order. The mayor's eye stalks drooped visibly. Financial records, of course. Zark pulled out a comically oversized ledger from his undersized briefcase. Surely you've been keeping track of your gross planetary product. Your net tentacle income, your slime mold derivatives. Mayor Glorp turned a sickly shade of puce. That is to say, Squidlix operates on a strictly barter system. Yes, that's it. We trade slime molds for. Well, more slime molds, mostly. Zark clucked his tongue disapprovingly. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm afraid that's going to complicate things considerably. We may need to perform a full audit, which could take weeks, unless ... He let the word hang in the air like a lead balloon. Mayor Glorp and his companions huddled together, whisper squelching urgently. Finally, Glorp turned back to Zark. Unless. Zark smiled benevolently. Well, there is a little-known galactic bylaw that allows for a one-time simplified tax assessment for, shall we say, less sophisticated economies. For a modest fee, payable in universally accepted credits, of course, I could perform this assessment and be on my way by sundown. No muss, no fuss, no probing of financial orifices. Mayor Glorp's eye stalks perked up. That sounds most reasonable. How modest a fee are we talking about? Zark made a show of consulting his ledger, muttering impressive-sounding financial jargon under his breath. Carry the 7, adjust for inflation, factor in the slime mold futures ... Let's call it an even 50,000 credits. The mayor's toupee nearly fell off in shock. 50,000 credits? But that's more than our entire planetary GDP, Zark shrugged. Far be it from me to tell you your business, Mayor Glorp, but I'd hate to see what a full audit would uncover. Industrial-strength tentacle polish without a license, unreported slime mold dividends. The fines alone would bankrupt your charming little mudball. Glorp deflated visibly, which for a Squidlixian was quite a sight. Very well, Grand Assessor, we single quotes L... find a way to pay. Will you accept the post-dated check drawn on the Bank of Galactic Desperation? Zark beamed. But of course, the Pan-Galactic Revenue Service is nothing if not accommodating. As he followed the dejected mayor toward the Squidlixian Provisional Treasury, a converted porta-potty with delusions of grandeur, Zark allowed himself a moment of smug satisfaction. Another planet, another payday. At this rate, he'd be able to retire to that nice little black hole he had his eye on in no time. Little did Zark know, his next routine audit would be anything but. Part 2. A taxing situation. Zark Windrider's rusted bucket of a spaceship, the audited accounts asterisk, lurched out of hyperspace with all the grace of a drunken Rigelian swamp beast. He barely had time to celebrate his successful fleecing of Squidlix before his ship's ancient navigation system had pinged with another opportunity. Let's see what poor, unsuspecting plant we have on the docket today, Zark mused, squinting at the streaky display. Naren is prime, lovely this time of year, I hear. If you enjoy acid rain and perpetual screaming. As the audited accounts entered the planet's atmosphere, more wheezing than flying at this point, Zark donned his Grand Assessor uniform. The jacket was a size too small, the pants a size too large, the tie looked like it had been used to strangle a particularly colorblind Venusian silkworm. In other words, perfect for a Baxel pusher of the Pan-Galactic Revenue Service. The ship touched down on a landing pad that had seen better days, possibly in another century. Zark disembarked, briefcase in hand, ready to work his fiscal magic on whatever poor saps passed for the welcoming committee. What he saw nearly made him turn tail and run back to his ship. Waiting for him was not the usual assortment of cowering bureaucrats, but a group of the meanest-looking thugs this side of the Horsehead Nebula. At the center stood a towering figure that made Zark's blood run cold. Gorgo the Disaballer Thrax, the most notorious crime lord and 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Gorgo's face, if you could call the mass of scar tissue, cybernetic implants, and pulsating veins a face, split into what might have been a grin or a snarl. It was hard to tell with Thracorians. Well, Gorgo rumbled, his voice like gravel in a cement mixer. What have we here? The Pan-Galactic Revenue Service graces us with its presence. Zark's mind raced faster than a quantum computer on speed. This was not part of the plan. He'd meant to hit up the legitimate government of Naranis Prime, not its criminal underworld. But backing out now would be as good as signing his own death warrant. So, he did what any self-respecting con artist would do. He doubled down. Greetings, citizen, Zark boomed, puffing out his chest. I am Grand Assessor Zark, here to perform a routine audit of all financial activities on Naranis Prime. I trust you have your records in order. Gorgo's cybernetic eye word as it focused on Zark. Records. We're criminals, you idiot. We don't keep records. Zark clucked his tongue disapprovingly. Tut, my good man. Crime is no excuse for sloppy bookkeeping. How else will you know if your illegal activities are turning a profit? For a moment, Zark thought he'd overplayed his hand. Gorgo's massive fist clenched, and the veins in his neck throbbed ominously. But then, to Zark's amazement, the crime lord burst out laughing. I like you, little man, Gorgo guffawed, slapping Zark on the back hard enough to rearrange his internal organs. You've got quadas coming here and trying to tax the untaxable. Come, let's discuss this over a drink. I've got some Arcturian mega whiskey that'll put hair on your eyeballs. Before Zark could protest, he found himself being ushered into Gorgo's palatial compound. The place was a monument to excess and bad taste, with stolen art from a dozen worlds clashing horribly with leopard print upholstery and neon signs advertising Gorgo's house of pain and unusual piercings. As Gorgo poured drinks that glowed in an alarming shade of purple, Zark's mind whirred. This was his chance to pull off the biggest score of his career, or end up as fertilizer for Gorgo's man-eating orchids. Now then, Gorgo said, handing Zark a glass that hissed ominously. Let's talk taxes. What's the damage? Zark took a deep breath, silently said goodbye to his liver, and downed the mega whiskey in one go. As his esophagus caught fire and his vision blurred, he realized two things. 1. He was about to attempt the most audacious con of his life. 2. He really should have paid attention in high school math class. Well, Mr. Thrax, Zark began, his voice only slightly squeaky from the whiskey. Based on my preliminary calculations, taking into account your diverse portfolio of illegal activities, offshore asteroid accounts, and creative use of black hole tax shelters, I'd say you owe the Pan-Galactic Revenue Service approximately 1 billion credits. The room fell silent, even the man-eating orchids seemed to hold their breath. Gorgo's cybernetic eye twitched. 1 billion credits. Zark nodded solemnly, praying to any deity that might be listening that he hadn't just signed his own death warrant. Then, to his utter astonishment, Gorgo threw back his head and roared with laughter. 1 billion credits, the crime lord bellowed. That's it. I lost more than that in the couch cushions last week. You Pan-Galactic types are too soft. I like you, Zark. You've got style. Zark's knees nearly gave out with relief. So you'll pay. Gorgo grinned his terrifying grin. Oh, I'll pay. But first, let's see how creative we can get with these deductions, eh? I've got a feeling you and I are going to be great friends, Grand Assessor Zark. As Gorgo launched into a detailed explanation of his money laundering operation on the moons of Zyg and Beta, Zark realized he might have bitten off more than he could chew. But hey, at least he wasn't fertilizer. Yet. Little did he know, his troubles were only just beginning. Part 3, Auditing the Auditor. Zark Windrider, self-proclaimed master of the long con and newly minted tax consultant to the galaxy's most notorious crime lord, was in a bit of a pickle. And not the tasty kind you'd find on a Zorgan deluxe burger. He'd spent the better part of a week holed up in Gorgo, the disembowler Thrax's compound on Naranis Prime, frantically cooking the books for an empire built on extortion, smuggling, and novelty bumper sticker production. His makeshift office was a converted torture chamber, complete with Iron Maiden water cooler and rack-turned filing cabinet. Let's see, Zark muttered, scribbling furiously. If we categorize the death ray as an agricultural implement and list the orbital doomsday device under home entertainment system, we can save at least 50 million credits in tariffs alone. Gorgo loomed over him, his cybernetic eye whirring as it scanned the creative accounting. Brilliant, Zark my boy. I haven't had this much fun since I rigged the Miss Universe pageant to crown a blob from Xenon 7. Zark grinned weakly, tugging at his collar. He was walking a razor-thin line between pulling off the greatest con in galactic history and ending up as modern art in Gorgo's trophy room. But hey, no pressure. Just as he was putting the finishing touches on a particularly inspired bit of financial chicanery involving a Ponzi scheme, 3 black holes, and a timeshare on Rigel 4, the door to his office/dungeon burst open and strode a figure that made Zark's blood run colder than liquid nitrogen. She was tall, imposing, and carried herself with the confidence of someone who could reduce your life to a series of unflattering pie charts. Her badge glinted menacingly. Auditor First Class Vexravox, actual Pan-Galactic Revenue Service. Well, Vexra drawled, her voice dripping with bureaucratic disdain. What have we here? A fake tax collector trying to scam the biggest crime lord in the galaxy. How delightfully idiotic. Zark's mind raced faster than a hyperdrive with a hiccup. Ida, that is to say, it's not what it looks like. Gorgo's massive hand clamped down on Zark's shoulder, nearly driving him through the floor. What's the meaning of this, Zark? You said you were from the Pan-Galactic Revenue Service. Oh, he's from the PGRS all right, Vextra smirked, the pathetically greedy rogue scammers. We've been tracking this little weasel across half the galaxy. And now, we're going to make an example of both of you. Zark's life flashed before his eyes. It was disappointingly short on thrills and heavy on bad decisions involving Arcturian lottery tickets. But then, just as he was contemplating whether he'd look better mounted next to the slime beast of Tau Ceti or the two-headed accountant of Beetlejuice, inspiration struck. Wait, he yelped. Before you do anything rash, like, say, disintegrating me or subjecting me to an eternity of filling out form 1099XBeth, have you considered a merger? Vextra raised an eyebrow. I'm listening, but only because your inevitable downfall amuses me. Zark took a deep breath. It was time for the performance of his life. Think about it. You've got the authority, I've got the creative interpretation of tax law. Together, we could revolutionize the way the galaxy does business. He turned to Gorgo, and you, my titanium-plated friend. Imagine being not just the biggest crime lord in the galaxy, but a legitimate businessman. We could turn your entire operation legit. On paper, at least. Think of the savings in bribes alone. For a moment, the only sound was the gentle bubbling of the lava lamp made from real lava and the screams of the damned. Then, to Zark's amazement, both Gorgo and Vextra burst out laughing. You've got quadronium alloy quadras, I'll give you that, Vextra chuckled. All right, Windrider, you've bought yourself a stay of execution. Let's see what you can do. And so began the strangest partnership in galactic history. A con artist, a crime lord, and a ruthless tax auditor, working together to create the most Byzantine financial structure ever conceived. Little did they know, their collaboration would soon attract the attention of powers far beyond their comprehension. Part 4. The final deduction. A booming voice echoed through the compound. Attention citizens of Nerinus Prime, this is Supreme Auditors Arquan the Inevitable. Your plan has been selected for a comprehensive audit. Resistance is taxable. Zark's knees turned to jelly. Supreme Auditors Arquan. I thought he was just a myth to scare junior accountants. Vextra's face paled. Oh, he's real all right. And if he's here, we're in deeper trouble than a squid lake scene in a tar pit. Gorgo cracked his knuckles menacingly. Bah, let him come. I'll show this pencil pusher what happens when you mess with Gorgo the Disabeller. Wait, Zark cried, his mind racing faster than a quantum computer on espresso. I have an idea so crazy, it just might work. Or get us all vaporized. Either way, it'll be interesting. As Zarquan's fleet descended, Zark outlined his plan. Gorgo grinned wickedly, while Vextra looked like she was considering a career change to something less stressful, like bomb disposal or Rigelian tiger dentistry. Minutes later, as Zarquan and his army of auditors marched into the compound, they were greeted by a sight that would go down in galactic history. Zark, dressed in a suit that seemed to be made entirely of tax forms, stood atop a mountain of ledgers. Beside him, Gorgo flexed menacingly, now sporting a tie with number 1 taxpayer emblazoned on it. Vextra, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else in the universe, held up a comically large check. Welcome, Supreme Auditors Arquan. Zark proclaimed, his voice only cracking slightly. We've been expecting you. In fact, we're thrilled to present you with the fruits of our labor, the single largest tax payment in galactic history. Zarquan's multifaceted eyes blinked in confusion. What is the meaning of this? Zark launched into an explanation so convoluted it made quantum physics look like a children's puzzle. He wove a tale of interstellar corporations, philanthropic crime lords, and creative interpretations of tax law that would make even the most hardened IRS agent's head spin. As Zark talked, Vextra discreetly passed out copies of their masterwork, the unified theory of galactic taxation with appendices for non-Euclidean economies. Hours passed, auditors fainted, Zarquan's left eye began to twitch. Finally, as Zark concluded his presentation with a flourish and a bow, silence fell over the compound. Zarquan stared at the massive check, then at the mountain of paperwork, then back at the unlikely trio before him. Finally, he spoke. In all my eons as Supreme Auditor, I have never seen such a brilliant, innovative, and utterly insane approach to taxation. He paused, his face unreadable. I love it. The compound erupted in cheers. Auditors tossed their calculators in the air. Gorgo swept Zark and Vextra into a bone-crushing hug. Windrider, Zarquan boomed. How would you like a job as my new Deputy Supreme Auditor? We could use someone with your unique perspective. Zark grinned from ear to ear. It would be my honor, Supreme Auditor. But I have one condition. My partners here come with me. And so, in a twist that would baffle economists for generations to come, Zark Windrider, former con artist and accidental financial genius, found himself working alongside a reformed crime lord and a once ruthless auditor to reshape the galaxy's economic landscape. As for Nerinus Prime, it became the most financially compliant planet in the galaxy, much to the confusion of everyone involved. Zark leaned back in his new office aboard Zarquan's flagship, feet propped on a desk made of solid iridium. He smiled to himself. thinking that sometimes, just sometimes, crime is pay, as long as you file the right forms in triplicate. The end.